Her breathing was regular and natural, the skin soft and the body warm, as in a healthy subject, the pulse rather fast. The hands were small and thin, but the fingers quite flexible. The body somewhat emaciated. The feel and the legs like those of a dead child, almost ice cold. The aspect of her features was pleasant, more so than might be expected under the circumstances. Her eyes and cheeks were sunken, and the appearance was that of death. But although there was no colour on her cheeks, the paleness was not that heavy hue which betokens death. Hello and welcome. So today's video is going to be all about the sleeping girl of Turville. In 1871, 11-year-old Ellen Sadler fell asleep and did not wake up for 9 years. Described by the Times newspaper as one of the most astounding, inexplicable psychological phenomena ever known, was Ellen's illness real or a hoax? Ellen was born on the 15th of May 1859 in the village of Turville in Buckinghamshire, a small village with 400 residents, and is first mentioned in official records in 796. Her parents were William and Anne Sadler, and she was the youngest of 11 siblings. They were an impoverished family. William Sadler had died when Ellen was young, and her mother had married again to Thomas Freewen. Ellen was said to be a rather thoughtful child. She was quiet and sedate and spent hours sitting thinking. In 1870, Ellen found work as a nursemaid in the town of Marlow, but while there she began to suffer from somnolence, which is a strong desire to sleep or sleeping for long periods. Because of this, she lost her job. Henry Hayman, the local doctor, visited Ellen, who had been suffering from an abscess on the back of her head. She was also displaying symptoms of spinal disease. Ellen's family did not have enough money for treatment, so the local vicar stepped in and was able to secure Ellen admission into the local hospital. Ellen stayed in the hospital for around 13 weeks, but then Ellen's condition worsened and she was discharged as incurable in March 1871. Once home, Ellen began to have several seizures. After one severe attack, Ellen's mother said Ellen had fallen unconscious on her left side with her hand under her head and the lower extremities drawn upwards. It was in this position that Ellen was said to have stayed while unconscious. Because this was the Victorian era, Ellen became somewhat of a tourist attraction. People from around the country visited her, including journalists, medical professionals and religious personnel. People who were just curious visited her too, voluntarily paying money to her parents to be able to observe Ellen in her slumber. They even paid to be able to take cuts of Ellen's hair. It was said that the family was earning £2 a week from the public wanting to see Ellen, and it was rumoured that Prince Edward, the Prince of Wales, paid a visit to her, laying his hands on her. One of the journalists that visited Ellen 22 months after she had fallen into her sleep wrote, "The girl's face was by no means cadaverous. There is flesh on the cheeks which have a pinkish tint, and there is some colour in the thin lips. The eyes are calmly closed, as though in a healthy sleep. I ventured to raise one of the lids and touch the eye underneath. The girl's hands were quite warm and moist, and the fingernails were neatly trimmed. The fingers were not the least bit stiffened. It is not a skeleton hand, neither are any of the girl's limbs so emaciated as under the extraordinary circumstances alleged might be expected. The child's body is very thin as compared to her limbs. There is not much substance in her flesh, however it is soft and flabby. Her feet were almost ice cold. As regards to the child's breathing, it is so feeble that it is almost impossible to detect it. You cannot feel it by holding the cheek to her mouth, and the only faintest flutter is felt when the hand is laid over the region of the heart." Ellen's mother would keep Ellen sustained on port, tea and milk, but one day while she was feeding her, Ellen's jaw locked closed. They managed to carry on feeding Ellen, though, by giving her wine, gruel and other things using a toy teapot inserted through 2 broken teeth. Ellen's toileting was also wondered about. In 1880, Ellen's mother told Dr. Hayman that Ellen had not had a bowel movement for 5 years, but that every 4 days a large amount would pass from her bladder. Some people were sceptical about the whole thing and tried to prove that Ellen and her family were faking it by stabbing her with pins. Neighbours of the family were unsure about Ellen's illness as they saw the family making money out of their daughter's suffering. They also stated that they saw Ellen in the bedroom window at night and that they had seen her wandering around the local graveyard. A journalist was also suspicious of the fact that Ellen's mother would make visitors wait before they could see her. Her mother would also not let any medical personnel remain too long in the room and did not want Ellen to go to hospital. Dr. Heyman said that this was because the medical personnel would often have sharp objects on them to test whether Ellen could feel anything. In May 1880, Ellen's mother Anne died of a heart attack after a thunderstorm. At her inquest, it was brought up what should happen to Ellen and whose care she should go into. It was decided that Ellen's stepfather would be unable to look after her as his job would mean that he would be out the house most of the day, so she was given into the care of her married sisters Elizabeth and Grace. So 5 months after her mother died and she had gone into the care of her sisters, Ellen woke up. She was now 21 years old. So Ellen amazingly made a full recovery, and the only issue she suffered from was stunted growth and a weak eye. In 1886 she married Mark Blackall and they had 5 children together. They were Anne, Elizabeth, Gladys, Sydney and Gertrude. Anne passed away in 1911. Now, no clear cause of her illness has actually been established. Today, it could be said she was either suffering from narcolepsy or she was in a coma that had been brought on by an epileptic fit. Or it could be said by some people that she was being deliberately drugged by her parents for financial gain after all this happens. So in the local area, Ellen's illness has actually gone down in local folklore, with plenty of people thinking that maybe witchcraft was involved in the whole thing. Someone had put a spell on Ellen to make her sleep for 11 years. So the Sadler's family home got a little nickname. It was nicknamed the Sleepy Cottage, and the cottage has also been used in the BBC comedy show The Vicar of Dibley and also in the 1998 film Goodnight Mr. Tom. So that was the story of Ellen Sadler, the sleeping girl of Turville, or Sleeping Beauty if you will. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.